Hey guys, I'm trying to improve my vertical jump and I've completed phase 5 of Vert Code Elite. In the final session of phase 4, I picked up an adductor injury. It had to take 13 days to let it heal. I was doing the bounding series and trying too hard to get good distance on that first step, and that caused the muscle pull. Initially, I had no strength. I couldn't even raise the injured leg while lying on my side, so I was using the RICE protocol, rest, ice, compression, elevation. The most effective thing for me during recovery was an Epsom salt bath, and I highly recommend it. I did it on day 4 and again on day 10. You make the bath as hot as you can handle, fully submerging your legs, and mix in about half a kilo of Epsom salt, which you can buy online, and stay in there for 25 minutes. Your legs will feel quite heavy straight afterwards, so wait around 48 hours before exercising again. After a week, I introduced light jogging and low-level strength work, and then on the final day, I did a retest of my vert. It's obviously frustrating to not be able to test straight after phase 4, but I still managed 73 centimeters, 1 centimeter off my PB, so I felt like I was ready for phase 5. Phases 1 to 4 had names like the base phase, spring phase, and if I had to give a name to phase 5, it would be the block step phase. It was back to doing the same sessions on days 1 and 5 and a different one on day 3. It includes 4 supersets. The first one is quite a gentle pairing, focusing on lateral change of direction. The next superset is at a higher intensity, and it makes it clear you're working on your block step. It includes another resistance band exercise. Honestly, you need to get some good bands because he uses them a lot. This time the band is used to increase your speed, and you have to stop that momentum with your block foot, otherwise you carry on through the rack. He mentions shin angle, which is something I honestly had no idea about until now. I ended up watching some dunk videos, and I can explain it best with a quick side-by-side with the guy from last year's dunk contest. Watching him first, there's this big stretched out penultimate step, and he's also traveling in the air as well, so he's covering a lot of distance. Then the block foot comes ahead of his body, and he gets this shin angle to help him convert that speed into height. His body's coming around quite a lot because he's doing a 180 dunk, but this is still a good example of shin angle. And then there's my technique. I'm not extending this back leg at all. Some of the tutorial videos talk about checking to see how straight your back leg is, because the wider your penultimate step, the lower your hips drop and the better you can get up. My block foot does end up ahead of my body, but not by much, and my shin is vertical, meaning I can't transfer horizontal speed, and that's probably why my 2-step approach is practically the same as my full run-up. I tried to incorporate this new block foot when I retested my vert. I had about 20 attempts. I was really trying to get this block foot to come through so my hips weren't square to the rim, and I had mixed success with that. My best effort was 71 centimeters, about 28 inches. I'm trying to establish a new movement pattern, so I can't be that annoyed about not setting a PB. I can jump over 70 quite consistently now, and having seen the twice weekly jump practice in phase 6, I'm confident I can start angling my block foot more and jumping higher. Okay, so going back to day 1, the next superset had some quite explosive pogo jumps. I struggled with Achilles problems in this phase, and I felt like the pogo jumps and the long duration jumps, which are the final exercise, were the 2 things that aggravated it. Then there's a short range of motion squat from a dead stop, so you're generating a lot of force from a static position, and I could really feel my thighs working. That was followed by rhythmic squats and a glute exercise, which I got a really good contraction on. Finishing with, as I said, a low-level jump that mimics jump rope. Now, you're meant to keep going until you really feel the exercise working, but for me, I was feeling pain before I felt any kind of fatigue. In episode 27 of the PGF podcast, he talks about barefoot training. He says that the environment is full of hard surfaces that our feet aren't designed for, and because we're in shoes all day, we should really be taking it easy when we go to barefoot stuff to avoid getting tendinopathy. I tried switching to a towel and also jumping on grass, and both of those made it feel better, but I did have to skip pogo jumps on one of the days to give me a chance of recovery. Day 3 started with 2 more resistance band exercises that sort of worked as an extra warm-up, and then on to some jumping drills. I ended up making a hurdle out of a piece of wood and some brackets because I lack intensity when I'm jumping over a small cone, and this helped a lot. There were some 1-foot approach jumps, which was very entertaining for me because I am terrible off one leg. I watched the single leg jump tutorial and I did my best to implement the coaching points, but I only measured at 64 centimeters, 25 and a bit inches, which is well below my 2-foot takeoff. A brief mention of the ab workout, which was on days 2 and 4, a really good selection of exercises this time. He had 2 with resistance bands, 1 anti-rotation, 1 anti-lateral flexion, then an anti-extension exercise which I swapped for the ab wheel. I'm a big fan of the anti-ab exercises where the torso is resisting a change in shape, and it should transfer well to playing sport. Overall, I thought this was a well-designed phase. I'm still on the monthly rolling, and it's just about worth the money that I pay for it. These programs are centered around jumping higher, or at least that's how I treat them. But this offers you so much more in terms of improved agility and quickness on the court, as well as all-round athleticism. I've already started phase 6 and I'm pretty excited about it. There's lots of opportunities for me to practice my new block foot, so keep an eye out next month for the next video where I will hopefully start touching the rim. Cheers.